hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Mindset. Today, we get to talk to Miss Liz Gagnon, and I'm really interested to hear why she likes to be called Miss Liz instead of Elizabeth or any of those kinds of things. But Liz also has some very interesting connections to tea, and I'm not going to give away what that's all about, but I'll tell you right now, it's not what you think. So we'll get to that though, and I hope that we get to have lots of fun over the next hour. I've told Liz that our podcast rule, the only major rule on this podcast, is you can't come on unless you're going to have fun. So I expect that we're going to have a lot of fun today. And Liz, welcome to Unstoppable Mindset. We are glad you're here.
Well, thank you so much, Michael, for having me. It's an honor to be here. I can't wait to dip into the tea and get everybody curious on what we're going to be spilling.
So how did you get started with the name Miss Liz as opposed to Elizabeth or Lizzie or any of that kind of stuff?
Well, I have all those names too, Michael.
I'll bet you do, but still, Miss Liz is what you choose.
Uh, Actually, Miss Liz was given to me at the age of 4. At the same time, my cup of tea was given to me at the age of 4 by my Oma. She just had a hard time saying Elizabeth. She was from Germany, so she would just call me
Ah,
Miss Liz.
Miss Liz.
Miss Liz. And then I knew, oh boy, I better move, right?
Yeah. If she
So
ever
yeah,
really got to the point where she could say Elizabeth very well, then you really better move.
well, she used to call me Elvira too, and I didn't like that name.
Elvira,
Yeah, I
Mistress
don't know
of the
how she got
Dark.
Elizabeth from Elvira, but she used to call me Elvira. I think maybe it was because her name was Evira, so I
Ah,
think it was close to her name, right?
ah.
So,
Well, tell us a little bit about the early Miss Liz growing up and all that stuff, and a little bit about where you came from and all that.
well, I come from a little town called Hearst, Ontario in Canada. It's about maybe 6,000 population, I'm gonna guess. I was born and raised there until the age of, I think it was 31 when I finally moved away for the last time. And I've been in the East End down by Ottawa and Cornwall and all that stuff since 2005. But my early childhood was a hard one, but it was also a strong one. A lot of people will say, how do you consider that strong? I've been through a lot of abuse and neglect and a lot of psychological stuff growing up. But I had my tea. I had that little Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole that I could go down once in a while just to keep me moving and keep me strong, right? Yeah, my story was a hard one, but I don't look at it as a struggle. I look at it as stepping stones of overcoming stuff and being that voice that I am today.
Struggle, if you're willing to talk about a struggle, how?
I was sexually abused by my uncle at the age of
Ah,
4, and then other family members later on in a couple of years later down the road. But my uncle was the main abuser, and I became impregnant by my uncle and lost a daughter to stillborn. So there was a lot of shame to the family. I was not allowed to speak of this child for many, many years. And I finally came out with her story after my father passed because I felt safe because my family would put me into psychiatric wards when I would talk about my little girl. So,
wow. Yeah, I don't know. I just have very little sympathy for people who do that to girls. Needless to say, and um, now now my cat, on the other hand, says she's abused all the time, but that's a different story.
right. But I strongly believe, Michael, that we all go through challenges and struggles in life, right?
Sure.
To have our story, to be that voice where we are today, like yourself, right? Had you not gone through what you went through, you would not have the story that you have.
Well, and I think that it also comes down to what you decide to do with the story. You could just hide it, hide behind it, or other things like that. And the problem is, of course, that then you don't talk about it. Now, after September 11th, I didn't go through any real counseling or anything like that. But what I did do was and my wife and I discussed it. We allowed me to take calls from reporters, and literally we had hundreds of calls from reporters over a 6-month period. And what was really fascinating for me, especially with the TV people who came, I learned a whole lot about how TV people set up to do an interview. We had a Japanese company with two or three people who came, and that was it, up through an Italian company that had 15 people who invaded our house, most of whom didn't really seem to do anything, and we never figured out why they were there. But it's fascinating to see how
They were
everybody
the
did.
extras, Michael.
Ah,
There's
that's what it
always the
was.
extras.
The extras, yeah. But it was very fascinating. But the point was that the reporters asked everything from the most inane, dumb question to very intelligent, wise, interesting questions. And it made me talk about September 11th. So I don't think that anything could have been done in any other way that would have added as much value as having all those reporters come and talk to me. And then people started calling and saying, we want you to come and talk to us about what we should learn from September 11th, lessons we should learn, talk about leadership and trust in your life and other things like that. And my wife and I decided that in reality, selling life and philosophy was a whole lot more fun and rewarding than managing a computer hardware sales team and selling computer hardware. So I switched. But it was a choice.
Yeah. It is a choice, right, Michael? Do you stay in the self-pity or do you rise from it, right? And a lot of
Right.
people were like, Miss Liz, how can you be so good-hearted and open to people that have hurt you so bad? And I always said since I was a little girl, Michael, I would not give anybody what others gave me.
Yeah.
That little inner girl in me always said, like, you know what it feels like. Would you like somebody else to feel this way? And the answer is no.
And with people like your uncle, did you forgive them ever, or have you?
I forgave them for myself.
Yeah,
I,
that's all
I,
you can
I,
do.
I'm not forgiving you and coming for your Sunday dinner and having roast beef and pretending that it was all fun and games. When I was younger, I had no choice to forgive him and to be around him because that's how my parents were. Don't bring shame to the family. And as a minor, well, you obey your parents and that, and I hate that word obey. Uh,
Yeah, I hear you.
but you know, I grew up in a time where you respect your elders, right? Whether
Yeah,
they were good or bad, you respected them. It was yes, sir, yes, yes, ma'am, whether they hurt you or not, you just respected these people.
yeah.
Do I have respect for them today? Absolutely not. I pray for them and I hope that they find peace within themselves, but I'm not going to sit and apologize to somebody who actually doesn't give two darns of my apology, right? So my words.
Well, the bottom line is that respect is something that has to be earned, and if they're not trying to earn it, then why should you respect? On the other hand, forgiveness is something that you can do, and you do it, and you move on,
Yeah. And a
which
lot of
is.
people don't understand the real forgiveness, right? Is because
Mm-hmm.
they always tell me, Miss Liz, you haven't forgiven anybody. And I said, yes, I have. Or I wouldn't be where I am today, guys,
Yeah.
if I wouldn't have forgiven those people for myself, not for them.
Now, see, that's the difference between people and my cat. My cat has no self pity. She's just a demanding kitty. And I wouldn't have her any other. Oh, she's really wonderful. She likes to get petted while she eats, and she'll yell at me until I come and pet her, and then she eats while I'm petting her. She loves it. She's a cutie. She's 15 and going on 2. She's great.
Oh, those are the cute
Yeah.
ones, right? When they stay young at heart.
Yeah. Oh, she does. So my wife passed in 2022, and now Stitch, that's the cat's name,
Oh, I
sleeps
like
up
it.
next to me, and so that works out well. And she was named Stitch when we got her. Not quite sure where the name originally came from, but we rescued her. We were not going to keep her. We were going to find her a home because we were living in an apartment. But then I learned that the cat's name was Stitch, and I knew that that cat weren't going to go nowhere because my wife had been a quilter since 1994. You think a quilter is ever going to give up a cat named Stitch? So Stitch has been with us now for over 10 years. It's great.
Oh, wow.
And there's a
Y-
lot of love there.
Yeah. And you
But
know these little connections, right? The universe sends us, with the names and all of that. And they send us pets as well as guidance, My little guy is Tinkerbell, and everybody thinks that she's still a kitten. She's going to be 12 in September. So, but she's still a little tiny thing. She kept the name. She just wants to be a little Tinkerbell. So,
that's cool. What a cute name for a kitty anyway.
yeah.
Well, so you grew up. Did you go to college or university?
No, I got out of school. I was half a credit away from high school graduation. I became pregnant for the second time, and then I got married at 18. Well, it was more or less, I was, I had no choice to get married,
Hmm.
or I would have, my father would have took my daughter from me, my oldest who is alive. And I had already lost one, and I wasn't losing a second one, so I got married. I did go back to adult school in 2000. I was one exam away from getting my GED. And that night I got a beating of a lifetime from my ex-husband,
Hmm.
because he didn't want me to get ahead of him, right? And then I went back again to try and get my GED three other times, and I was always 4 points away from getting what I needed to get it.
Wow.
So I was just like, you know what? The universe doesn't want me to have this piece of paper, I guess.
Or not
So
yet
I'm just,
anyway.
yeah, and I'm not giving up, right? It's not the right timing, and maybe in the future. And it's always the Y and S string that gets me, the 4 point question, guys, on the math exam that gets me
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah. Oh well. Well, I always thought that my wife, in so many ways, was ahead of me, and it didn't ever bother me, and it never will bother me a bit. Just things that she would say, creative things, just clever things. She clearly was ahead of me, and I think she felt the same way about me in various ways. But that's what made for a great marriage, and we worked off each other very well, and that's kind of the way it really ought to be. Oh boy, ego gets to be a real challenge sometimes, though, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, it does.
So, what did you do when you didn't go off and end up going to school?
I became a mom, and then I did the mom role, right? I grew up in a kind of like a redneck hillbilly kind of family
Hmm.
where the accent kind of kicks in once in a while. It was barefoot and pregnant. You take care of the kids, cook and clean, and be the wife, and just obey. Once again, that word obey.
Yeah.
Um, I grew up with that word a lot, and that's why I don't like that word. I'm surprised I'm even using it tonight, but um, yeah. So it was just take care of the family and just live. And eventually, in 2005, a lot of things happened with my children and myself, and we just left and started a new life. In 2006, I fell ill. I was at work and my left arm went numb. And I thought I was having a heart attack, or that they were checking me since I was little for MS as well, because I have a lot of problems with my legs. I fall a lot.
Hmm.
So we're still looking into that because I'm in the age range now where it can be diagnosed, you know. So in 2006, I became ill and I lost feelings from my hips down where I couldn't walk anymore. So I had to make some tough choices. And I reached out to my family, which I kind of figured I'd get that answer from them. They told me to get a backbone and take care of my own life and stuff because I moved away from everybody. Um, so I turned to the foster care system to help me with my children. And that was a hard choice, Michael.
Hmm.
It took me 2.5 months. My children sat down with me and said, Mommy, can we please stay where we are? We have friends, we're not moving all the time anymore. Um, and so it took a while and I signed my kids over legal guardianship, but I made a deal with the services that I would stay in the children's lives. I would continue their visits twice a month, be at all their graduations, be at their dance recital, anything. I was there. I wanted my children to know that I was not giving up on them. I just was not able to take care of them in my home.
Did they accept that?
Well, they did.
Yeah.
And it was a bumpy road. The first 5 years was a lot of adjusting. and we were really close. I got to pick the foster homes, which is not usually the way it
Mm-hmm.
works. My children went through a lot of abuse as well. My ex-husband was very abusive, so I knew that my daughter needed to be around horses. She loved to be around horses, so I found her a home that had horses. And my other two children, I found a home where they had music, and music was really important to me because music is what saved me as well during my journey. Right, I turned to music to get through the hard times. Um, so yeah, the first 5 years was adjustments and really good, and we got along. And after that, the services changed, new workers came in, and then it became a nightmare. Um, there was less visits happening. There was an excuse for a visit. There was, oh, well, maybe we can reschedule this, or if we do them at 5 in the morning, can you show up? And of course, I was showing up at 5 and going to bed as soon as the visit was done because I was by myself. So it was a journey.
Mm-hmm.
But I am grateful for that journey because today, me and my older kids who are adults, we're really close and we're building that bond again. And they understand the journey that mom had to take in order for them to have a home.
They understand it and accept it, which is really obviously the important thing.
Yeah. But it's been rocky, Michael.
Sure.
We've had our ups and downs. We've had like you gave up on us. We've had those moments. Uh, but my children now becoming adults and becoming parents themselves, they see what mom had to do, right?
So are you able to walk now and move around?
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
was. It took about 6 months for me to learn how to walk again. I still have a limp from time to time. A lot of people call it my penguin little limp because I limp like a little penguin from time to time because what happened is I went through so much trauma in my life constantly that they diagnosed me with conversion disorder, which is not really well known to a lot of people. And what it does is it shuts the body down. So I have no control over when my body says it's going to take a break. It just says, I'm going on holidays and you just got to deal with it. So there's days where I can't walk, right? There's days where I can't talk. It sounds like I'm drunk. My sight is blurred. Plus, I'm already losing my sight because of genetic druisms and stuff like that as well. So, but I mean, it took everything in me to push myself. And what pushed me was I had this nurse that was really rough with me, and she would give me these sponge baths, and she would slam me into the chair. And I told her, I said, next week you will not be slamming me in that chair. And the next week I got up and I took 3 steps. And then the next couple hours, it was 4, 5 steps, 6 steps. And I was like, I got this. I know I can do this. But it took 6 months, Michael.
But still, ultimately, the bottom line is no rugby or American football for you, huh?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
Not yet, anyway.
Well, maybe you never know, right? I'm still young. I'm only 51. You never know what I'm going to be doing next year. I always tell everybody, Miss Liz is always on an adventure. So,
Yeah, but I'm not an advocate of going off for rugby or football, but that's all right. Do whatever works.
well, I like to watch football.
Well, that's
I
different.
like to,
That's different.
I like to check those boys out once in a while.
Well,
But,
yeah.
but yeah, no, you just never know where I'm going to go, right? Only the good universe knows where it's putting me next year and the
So,
year after.
so what kind of work did you do, and what are you doing now? How did kind of one lead to the other?
Um, Actually, I started my business in 2015 of Miss Liz's Tea Times. It was a fundraising tea party, but it started in my home. All I did was have a bunch of ladies over and celebrate strong women. And one lady really liked the layout that I did, and she's like, "Can we do this in the community?" I was like, "I don't know, let's try it." If we don't try, we don't know. And then I
Mhm.
went to the community for, I think, 3 years. We raised over $5,000 for different services that helped me along the way as well, and places that needed money for serving the community. And then we went virtual when COVID hit. The podcast came along, and I did
Mm,
that for 5 years. And I burnt myself out doing that
mm.
because I'm an all or nothing kind of girl. So you either get nothing at all or you get it all at once. So, and now I've been writing and working on stuff and working on an e-commerce business with a new way of serving tea, keeping people on their toes and wondering what's coming next. Children's book is coming out soon, poetry book. So I've just been busy writing and doing a lot of different things.
What did you do before 2015 for work or income, or did you?
I worked in gas stations, chambermaid, kind of stuff like that. Something that wasn't too educated because my
Mm-hmm.
ex-husband didn't like that stuff, right? Don't try and be a leader. Don't try and be in the big business world. I'm sure his head is spinning now, seeing all the stuff that I'm doing, but that's on him, not me. So.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to it. Tell me about tea.
Well, tea started at 4, and it was my Oma that gave me a cup of tea. And everybody thinks it's the beverage. It's not the beverage. We did have a cup of tea, so
Oh, that's
there is a
fair.
beverage. There is a beverage involved. But she gave me words, and when I was little, I didn't understand these words. She said, "Reflect, recharge, and release." And she came from the war in Germany, and she said the first thing I had was a cup of tea when I came to Canada. Um, and she just knew that I was going to have a hard life. She knew that the family was kind of, they had their sicknesses and addictions and stuff like that. So she just knew. And I was a quiet kid. I was always in the corner, humming and rocking myself and doing stuff by myself. I didn't want to be around people. I was really a loner. Um, and she gave me these words, and these words resonated with me for years. And then I just kept hearing them, and I kept hearing tea, tea, tea. And there were sometimes I'd be sitting in a room, Michael, by myself, and I'd be like, okay, I don't want a cup of tea right now. Like, I don't know what this tea is. Like, but it was like the universe telling me that I needed to get tea out there. And I knew it wasn't a beverage. I knew it was, Oma gave me words. So we got to bring words to the table. We got to bring the stories to the table. She was giving me a story. She was telling me to stay strong, to recharge, to reflect, release, all of the stuff that all of these things take, right, to overcome stuff. We have to reflect on the journey that we were put on and recharge ourselves when we overdo ourselves and releasing and letting go of things that we know we'll never, ever get an answer to. So.
So, what did you do with all of that? I mean, those are some pretty deep thoughts, needless to say.
Yeah, so I started with the tea time at home, and then when I went to the podcast, I would ask people, "What is your tea?" And then people were like, "Miss Liz, I don't even like tea. Like I'm a coffee drinker, or I like a good beer." Or I'm just like, "Okay, well, you don't even have to like the beverage. Like it's not about the beverage. It's about our past, our present, and our future. That's what the tea is, right? We all have that story. We all have the past, the present, and the future, and how we look at it, and how we define our stories, and how we tell our stories. So." That's where the T is.
But you came up with words for the acronym eventually.
Yes. Yes.
When did you do that, and what were the words?
I came up with the words, I believe, in 2016,
Oh,
2017. And for me, it was teaching. I wanted to be a little kindergarten teacher when I was a little girl. So T was teaching, right? And teaching myself that the past was not going to define my future story. Uh, E was educational. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to educate people. I wanted to educate myself. Even though I didn't have those degrees and I didn't go to school and universities, I could still educate myself. I could still reach out. I could still research. I could still find answers myself. And A was awareness, just bringing awareness that our lives are different and we can change them, right? Nobody can define how our stories end except for ourselves.
yeah. And the A.
A was awareness, and the awareness that,
Hmm.
that we can bring any form of awareness, good, bad, or ugly, and I bring a little bit of all of it through my stories and through the overcoming that I've had, right? It's an ugly story. There were bad things that happened, but there are good results in the end.
Yeah.
Because had I not gone through what I went through, Michael, I would not be here having this conversation with you tonight.
Or it would be a totally different conversation, if at all. You're right.
Absolutely.
So you deal a lot with being a mental health advocate, and That's very understandable because of all of the things that you went through. But what kind of really made you decide to do that?
Mental health advocate was deep in my blood since 2010 when I went to the pharmacy and gave them all my medication and said I no longer want any of this because they had me so numbed with antidepressants and painkillers and stuff that I didn't even know I had children.
Mm,
People were telling me your kids are coming for a visit, and I was like, why are you telling me I have kids? Like I'm a kid myself. Like I was going backwards and I didn't know that I was married, that I had children, what my kids' names were. And I was just like when is mom and dad coming to get me? Like I was so messed up, Michael. And I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. August 29th of 2009, I brought my medication and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm taking ownership of my life. I'm being the advocate of my life. I do not need these pills. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, I've got trauma, but there's another way of doing this.
well, you're clearly a survivor and you've made choices that demonstrate that by any standards. And obviously, a mental health advocate. What do you think are some of the major misconceptions that people have about mental health today that they also just don't seem to want to get rid of?
Well, a lot of people have this conception that if you take a pill, it's going to go away. You're healed, and then they get hooked on pills or they get hooked on this is the easy fix, right? Like I said this afternoon in another interview I did this afternoon, Michael, we get these diagnoses, but doctors don't really sit with us and explain the diagnosis to us. They don't really understand, they don't really explain the side effects of the pills that they're giving us. And them themselves may not even know the full
Mm-hmm.
aspect of those diagnoses. They just put you on a checklist, right? You check A, B, C, and D. Okay, well, you have bipolar. You got DCE and you got DID. Like, it's charts. So we're not really taking the time to understand people. And mental health has a long way to go. A long way to break the stigma as well, because mental illness, most of it cannot be seen. It
Yeah.
cannot be understood because it's inside the body, right?
Yeah. And a lot of people don't want to look and analyze that and try to help truly deal with it.
Yeah. A lot of people will judge what they don't understand or what they're scared of understanding.
Which is why it's fascinating. And we've had a number of people on Unstoppable Mindset who believe in Eastern medicine and alternative medicines as opposed to just doing pills. And it's fascinating to talk to people because they bring such insights into the conversation about the human body. And many of them have themselves used these alternatives to cure or better themselves. So it makes perfect sense. But yet we still don't tend to want to deal with it,
Yeah. Well,
which
anything
is
that's
too bad.
uncomfortable, right? We don't want to really face it, right? We want to
Mm-mm.
run from it or we want to say, oh, it's fine. I'll get to it next week. And then next week comes to next month and next month comes to next year and you're still dealing with the same trauma and the same pain, right?
Yeah. Well, so tell me about Tea Time with Miss Liz, because you've developed that, you've brought it into existence, and that obviously also helps deal with the mental health stigma. Tell me about that.
Um, well, I just
That's a
wanted to
lot into
have
one question, but go
right?
ahead.
I just really wanted to meet people and I wanted to hear their stories, because it gets lonely once in a while when you're always telling your story, right? So I wanted to get other stories, but I didn't want to just deal with mental health. I wanted to deal with grief and abuse and things, everything that I've lived with, right? And it all goes back to trauma. Like all three of them, abuse, grief, mental health, it deals with trauma in some form. And then I got hooked to a bunch of people that found Miss Liz on the airwaves and then connected with you, Michael. You were a guest on Tea Time in my last
Yeah, that
season
was fun.
and I got to go down a bunch of rabbit holes with a bunch of cool people. Um, and Tea Time was just a place for everybody just to come and share what they were doing and why they were doing it, right? So a lot of the questions that I asked was your younger self, eh? How do you see your younger self to your older self? And why are you doing what you're doing today? And a lot of people are writing books because writing saved them through hard times in life as well. And a lot of mental health back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s were not spoken of. It was really hush hush. Oh, that person's just a rebel, or that person's just a little crazy once in a while, or has too much to drink from time to time. So mental health wasn't really spoken about in those
Hmm.
decades, right? So
Yeah. And, but I hear what you're saying about writing. And, I, I've written now 3 books and I've learned a lot as I write each book. And I think there's a lot of value in it. But also, it's more than writing, although writing is a way to to really do it from the most personal standpoint possible. But as you've pointed out, talking about it is also extremely important. And talking about whatever, whether it's a bad thing or a good thing, but talking about it as well as writing about it is valuable because if we take the time to do all of that, we'll learn a lot more than we think we will.
well, and there's so many different genres of writing, right? There's horror, there's fiction, there's nonfiction, there's children's books, but those are all storytellers too, in a
Yeah.
different way.
Well, they are. and and again, it's the point is though that when you take the time to write, you really have to think about it probably even more than sometimes than people when they just talk about things. And as you're writing, like I said, you learn a lot no matter what genre of writing you're doing. You're putting yourself into it, and that in of itself helps educate and teach you.
Absolutely. And I learned so much from a lot of the authors that were on Tea Time, little tricks and little ways of making skits and scenes and characters and names for their characters. And I'd be like, well, where'd you get that name? And they'd be like, I don't know, it just a childhood name that was stuck with me for a long time. Um, I really liked meeting authors that wrote their memoirs or stories, because I'm a person that likes truth. I'm a truth seeker.
Hmm.
If it doesn't match up, I'm just like, let me ask you some more questions. Let me take you down this rabbit hole little more. So
Yeah. Well, a lot of people tend to not want to talk about their journey or talk about themselves, and they feel unseen and unheard. How would you advise them? What would you advise them to do?
I felt that way for many years, Michael, growing up in the situation that I grew up
I'm
in,
sure you
right?
did.
And I wrote my first book. I was a co-author in the Sacred Hearts Rising series compiled by Brenda Hammond in Alberta. And her book, Hear Me, kept reaching out to me. I kept hearing, I didn't even know what the book was. It was just, the title was Hear Me. And I kept saying, I want people to hear me. I want to be heard. Like, I want people to know this. Like, I'm tired of living in silence, just to keep everybody hush hush because everybody's comfortable. So I reached out to Brenda, and that's how my writing journey started, was with Brenda. And I wrote my first chapter in there, and it just continued to the ripple effect into other books and other anthologies and other people. And I find that the universe is guiding me, like bringing me to the people that I need to see, like meeting you, Michael. Like, had I not started a podcast and met Mickey Mickelson, I would have never met you, Michael. So
Hmm. And he continues to be a driving force in helping a lot of authors.
absolutely. Yeah. I'm not even sure how Mickey found me. We had a video call, and the next thing I knew, we were working together for 3 years, and I got to meet incredible authors through Mickey, Creative Edge, and it was one of the driving force of Tea Time with Miss Liz.
I can't remember exactly how I first heard of Mickey either, but we chatted and we've been working together ever since.
Yeah, Mickey's pretty awesome. I still keep my eyes on Mickey.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Mickey is kind of a publicist. He works with authors and helps find podcasts and other opportunities for authors to talk about what they do and to interact with the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
Creative edge.
and then I got to meet other people that found me on the airwave through my press releases and through me speaking at different events. I had other people reach out with their authors and their members and all of that, and I got to meet some really incredible people. Like I've had doctors on Tea Time, I've had Hollywood directors on Tea Time, I've had uh, best-selling authors like yourself, Michael. Like, I got to meet some really incredible people. And then I got to meet other people as well that were doing movements and orphanages and stuff like that. We reached over 72 countries. Just people reaching out and saying, "Hey, Miss Liz, can we have tea?" And absolutely, let's sit down. Let's see where you got to go with your tea.
So you're in another season of Tea Time right now?
No, I'm not. A lot of people are asking me to come back. I don't know if I will come back. I am working on, like I said, the e-commerce drop shipping company for Miss Liz. I'm working on a children's book. I'm working on poetry. I'm doing a lot of interviews now for my own books, tea
Mm.
time books and stuff like that. Um, but I am reconsidering coming back maybe for a couple surprise podcast interviews. So.
Mm. Well, tell us about the e-commerce site, the store.
Well, that was supposed to be launched on my birthday. I like to give myself birthday gifts because I'm by myself a lot. So 2 years ago, I gave myself the tea books for my birthday. And this year, I was supposed to give the e-commerce drop shipping, where we opened a second branch of Miss Liz's Tea, where we changed the letter A to E. So TEE instead of TEA. But if you look at my Oma, who comes from Germany, T in Germany is TEE. So we're still keeping Oma's tea. We're just bringing
That's
it in a
fair.
different way.
And what does it stand for? Do you have a definition of it?
For this T, we have transcend, embrace, and envision. So
Ah,
transcend beyond the story that we all tell, embrace the journey that you're on, and envision your dreams and visions that you can move forward.
so how's the e-commerce site coming?
It's coming along. We got a couple of hiccups. I just want to make sure that everything is good to go. We have over 100 different products. And again, we do not have the tea beverage on the site. So you guys can see that Miss Liz is staying true to herself, that it is not about a beverage. But we do have an inner journey happening. So you'll have to check that out. So we have some candles and some journals, some fashion that Miss Liz has created. So there's a lot of cool things that you'll see. And then we have some collaboration. So if any of the businesses out there would like to collaborate with Miss Liz, because I'm big on collaboration, we can maybe come up with a brand or a journal or something that we can work two brands together to create a bigger inner journey for people to enjoy.
Is the site up?
It was up and we had to take it down because there were some glitches in it, and I wanted to make sure that so we're hoping that it's going to be going for June 1st. I don't like to set dates because then I
Yeah.
get disappointed, right? If
Yeah.
something comes up. So it was supposed to be May 17th, guys, and I know that a lot of people were looking forward to it. My children were looking forward to it because of the fashion, and there's something for everyone on the new website, for children, for parent, for mothers, for fathers, for family. So I wanted to make sure that everybody was included.
Tell me about some of the fashion things.
So we have inner journeys. So I had an eating disorder from the age of 12, Michael. So I had a body image all the time. Uh, so I wanted to make sure that we felt beautiful about ourselves. So we have some summer dresses in there. We have some swimwear. Swimwear was another thing that I didn't really like to wear growing up. I like to
Mm.
be covered a lot. And then we have undergarments for people to feel beautiful within themselves. And then we have hoodies and t-shirts, but we have messages, little tea messages from Miss Liz.
Now, are most of these fashion things mainly for women, or are there some men ones on there as well?
No, we have men. Men have stories too. So
Hi.
there's
I thought so.
yeah, we have men in there. We have I'm really big on having men share their stories because I have a son. I've said this on many platforms. I would want my son to have the same services as that his
Hmm.
mother has. So, of course, there's a men wear in there. There are children's wear in there as well, and there's some puzzles and some diamond art and all of that. So there's a little bit of everything in there.
So, how do you use all of the different mechanisms that you have to promote awareness? I think I know the answer to this, but I'd like you to tell how you're promoting awareness, mental health, and otherwise awareness.
I think the way that I'm promoting myself and my brand, Michael, is just show up and be yourself. Believe in yourself and stay true to yourself. Be your real tea. The way that I'm branding and marketing it is I'm breeding different. So when you hear tea, you think the beverage right away. Well, then when you hear Miss Liz, you know Miss Liz is not bringing a beverage.
Hmm.
So you
Right.
know right away you're getting different, right? And I like to keep people on their toes because they think that they might know what's coming, but they don't know. Same as like the fashion wear, you might think you know what's coming, but then you'll be like, whoa, this is not what I was thinking.
And you put, as you said, sayings and other things on there which help promote awareness as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's simple phrases that I use all the time. You tell me I can't, and I'll show you I can. You know, it lives in you. These are some of the brand messages that I have on my merchandise. Also, men have stories too. Simple phrases, that we just gotta make awareness. It's so simple sometimes that we overthink it and we overdo it, that we just gotta keep it simple.
Hmm. Which make perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about mental health. Have we made improvements in society regarding mental health, and how do we do more to represent marginalized voices?
Oh, we got lots of work to do, Michael. We're not even close.
Yeah.
We're just on the touch of the iceberg for mental health. We have all these organizations that are competing with each other instead of collaborating. I think we would really make a huge difference if we started working together instead of against each other, or my service is better than your service. Let's start just collaborating together and working together as one. That all this division in the mental health world is what's causing the distractions and the delays in services and getting help, you know. I think we just need to start working together, and collaboration is not weakness. It's not taking somebody else's product away. It's working together. It's teamwork. And I think we need more teamwork out there.
We also need to somehow do more to educate the governments to provide some of the funding that they should be providing to help this process.
Absolutely. And I think the statuses need to really be looked at. They're not even close.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I agree. There's a long way to go to deal with it.
Absolutely. Just throwing numbers out there to have numbers, but not actually getting the real factual information out there can cause a lot more damage.
So, if you could shift one mindset regarding mental health, what would it be?
Oh, good question, Michael. Hmm. That we're not alone,
Okay.
because a lot of people with mental illness think they're alone, but we're actually not alone. There's a lot of people out there that are feeling the same thing as us.
And that's a mindset that people have that we need to deal with. We need to change. We need to teach people that the reality is there are a lot of people, whether they've experienced the same things as any individual has or not, isn't the issue. But there are a lot of people who do want to be more welcoming, and there are a lot
Absolutely.
of people who could learn to be more welcoming than they are.
Absolutely. Well, I think it starts with a conversation, right? Having
Sure.
these conversations. A lot of people don't want to talk about mental health because they don't want to know the truth. They just want to know what society says, right? What the systems say, what the services say, but they're not actually advocating for themselves. I think if we all started advocating for our mental health, we would make the impact and the change as well.
Yeah, but we need to really somehow develop a collective voice,
Absolutely.
and that's part of the problem. I know that with the world of disabilities in general, the difficulty is that although it is probably, well, it is one of the largest minorities, maybe the second largest in the world, depending on whether you want to consider women the minority, although there are more women than men, or men the minority. The reality is that the difficulty is that there are so many different kinds of disabilities that we face, and some that we don't even recognize. But the problem is that everyone totally interacts within their own disability to the point where they don't find ways to work together nearly as much as they can. And it doesn't mean that each disability isn't unique, because they are, and that needs to be addressed. But there's a lot more power if people learn to work together.
Exactly. I'm with you with that, Michael, because there's so many disabilities that you don't see, right? That you don't hear about. Somebody will talk about a new diagnosis that nobody knows about or is unaware of. Like when I talk about conversion disorder, a lot of people don't know about it, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, check it out. I'm a lady that actually has crazy papers, so if I go a little crazy on people, I can get away with it. I got the paper for it, right? So, but the thing is, the doctors they need more education as well. They
Yeah.
need to be educated as well, not just the society, not just the public, but also the doctors that are working in those fields.
There's so many examples of that. Website access for people with disabilities is a major issue. And we don't teach in most schools and most places where we have courses to instruct people on how to code. We don't really make making websites inclusive and accessible a major part of the courses of study. And so the result is that we don't tend to provide a mechanism where people shift their mindset and realize how important it is to make sure that their websites are fully inclusive to all. It's the same kind of concept.
Yeah. Well, I think we all could learn a little bit more, right? When we all get to this point where we've learned everything, I think that's where society gets ignorant towards disability, right? Um, living with disability myself, Michael, I've had a lot of people say, "Well, you look fine. There's nothing wrong with you. Why,
Mm-hmm.
why, why are you like this?" Um, you know, why? And my answer is, why are you that way? Why are you judging something you're not seeing? You know,
Yeah.
it's just like in grief. You don't see grief. It lives within us. You don't see abuse. The person is usually living within a home that is told what happens in the home stays in the home, uh, you know, or they try to mask it and hide the real truth, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's a form of trauma as well because we're being told to hush. So then when we start speaking, well, then we start doubting ourselves, right? The self-doubt kicks in. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say that, or I shouldn't do that, or I shouldn't, be there. So you start to self-doubt everything. I did that for many years. I self-doubt why I was in a room with a bunch of people, or why I was speaking at that event, or why I wrote in that book. And then I was just like, you know what? I am enough. Um, and we all are enough and we all can be seen in a different light.
My favorite example illustrating some of what you're talking about is that I had a phone conversation with someone once, and arranged for them to come to our apartment. I was on campus at the time, living in an on campus apartment. And the guy came out that afternoon, and I answered the door, and he said, "I'm looking for Michael Hingson." I said, "I'm Michael Hingson." And his comment was, "You didn't sound blind on the telephone." Now, I've
Wow.
never understood what it means to sound blind, but whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. Um, and I was polite enough not to say, "Well, you didn't sound stupid on the phone either," but
Right. Right? That would be something I would say now. Back in the day, I was a little mouse. Now I'm a lion, and I'm just like, oh yeah, right? Like tap for tap, man. Like,
Well,
th th
yeah, but there are ways to deal with things like that. But it still worked out. But it was just an amazing thing that he said.
yeah. It surprises me what some people say sometimes. I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So you've done well a lot of international speaking. Where have you traveled to speak?
I spoke in Detroit in 2020 or 2021. I can't remember the year, Michael. But I spoke at the Sean Fair tour. Uh, and I spoke on tea, of course,
Of course.
and my journey and my story and my journey on how I'm just a different woman who wants to come to the table and make a difference. I just want to show people that if, as long as we're trying, we can make a difference. As long as we're showing up, tired, broke, frustrated, we're making a difference. And that's my message to everybody: is just show up, just be you. And not everybody needs to like you. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I don't want to be everyone's cup of tea.
Mm-hmm. You can only do and should only do what you do.
Yeah,
But you
and
have to.
then I'll and yeah. And then I'll be speaking in October. I just spoke at an event here in Cornwall in my local area for Empowered to Recovery with Bernard. And in October, I'll be speaking in North Bay for an student. My sister, she actually went to school with my sister. She actually found me through my books, and she runs this youth group, and she'd like me to go speak to the youths on empowerment and the tea, of course.
Always worth talking to kids. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And the most neat thing about speaking to children is they're so much more uninhibited. They're not afraid to ask questions, which is so great.
I love questions. Like I love when I talk to people and they have some questions like what is this tea that you keep
Yeah.
talking about? And
But
I'm just like, the tea is just a grab, guys. It's just to get you hooked. It's like going fishing and catching a good fish. Like I put the hook in the water and you all come and you join and you have a tea with me.
but still, children are so much more uninhibited. If I deliver a talk mainly to kids, even kindergarten through sixth or seventh grade, they're much more open to asking questions. Sometimes they have to be encouraged a little bit, but boy, when the questions start, the kids just keep coming up with them, which is so great.
Right? It's that ripple effect, that first person to break the ice to ask the first question, and then it just rolls.
It's a lot harder with adults to get them to do that.
Yeah.
And it is even then though when adults start to ask questions and the questions open up, then we get a lot of good interactions. But it is more of a challenge to get adults to open and ask questions than it is children. And it's
Yeah.
so much fun because you never know what question a child is going to ask, which is what makes it so fun too, because they're so much more uninhibited.
And the imagination of a child. I love speaking, like with my granddaughter, she's 4, and the conversations we have about dragons and tooth fairies and good monsters, because I don't like bad monsters. She knows grandma doesn't like bad monsters, so we talk about good monsters. And it's just the stories, the imagination that opens up new ways of seeing things and seeing life.
Yeah. You've gotten a number of awards, humanitarian awards and other kinds of awards. Tell me a little bit about those.
Honestly, Michael, I don't know how I got those awards. I was just being myself. And I guess a lot of people nominated me for stuff and they were just like, you got to check this Miss Liz out. And even some awards, I'm just like, why me? You know, all I did was be myself. I'm grateful for them. I appreciate the awards, but I don't want to be known for the awards, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Well, but you've been successful. What does success mean to you?
Success means showing up for myself.
Tell me more about that.
Um,
Of course.
Success is different for everybody, right? Some people want the $1 million. They want the bestseller. They want the big business. They want the big house. For me, success is just showing up. Growing up, nobody showed up for me. So I knew at a young age I had to show up for myself. And that was my success story, was just showing up. There's days I really don't want to be here. I'm just tired of showing up, but I still show up tired. So that's my success story. And I think that's going to be my success story until the day I die, Michael, is just show up.
Well, there's a lot to be said for showing up, and as long as you do show up, then people get to see you, right?
Yeah,
Which is the whole point. And again, as we talked about earlier, that's the choice that you made. So you decided that you were going to show up and you were going to be you, and you also talk about it, which is, I think, extremely important because so many people won't. Not a criticism, but last year I spoke at the Marshfield, Missouri Cherry Blossom Festival in April of 2024, and it was and every year they hold this festival, and it's a celebration of American history. One of the people there was a Secret Service agent who rode in the car right behind JFK when he was assassinated. And it took him 45 years before he could talk about it. It was that traumatic for him, and he just wasn't able to move on. Eventually, he was able to talk about it, and he was at the festival as I was last year and did speak about it. But it is hard. It is a major endeavor and effort to make the choice to show up to face whatever you have to deal with and move on from it or move on with it. I talk about Karen, my wife, passing, and I will never say I move on from Karen. I continue to move forward, but I don't want to move on. I don't want to forget her.
absolutely.
And
Well,
there's a big difference between moving on and moving forward. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead, Michael.
No, that's it.
You know, we look at life differently, right? Different perspectives. And that's the whole thing with the T, is looking at life differently. We all have a past, we all have a present, and we all have a future, right? And it's how we look at our past. Do we stay stuck in our past? Like a lot of people, Miss Liz, you're in the past. No, I'm not. I speak of the past, but I'm not in the past. I'm in the present moment, and my trauma is real and it's raw, and I'm dealing with it and I'm healing from it. And the future, I don't know where the future's taking me. I just buckle up and go for the adventure and see where it takes me. If it means writing another book, or it means taking a trip, or getting a job in a third world country, that's where I go. Uh, Moving forward from all of the trauma that I've lived through, I don't want to forget it.
Hmm.
A lot of people like, I would you change anything? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change a single thing.
There's a difference between remembering and being aware of it and being bitter and hating it. And I think that's the important part.
Yeah. And speaking of the past is not a bad thing. Because the past is
No.
part of us, right? We were little kids once upon a time. Like there, not everything was all bad. There was good moments. There was more bad times for me than there was good, but there were good moments. I had good memories of spending with my grandparents on the farm, and playing in the wrecked up cars and pretending I was a race car driver and stuff like that. Playing in the mud, making mud pies, putting them in the oven. These were good memories that I have.
Yeah.
So those are what I hold on to. I hold on to the good stuff. I don't hold on to that heavy stuff.
Well, at least at this point, what do you see in the future for Miss Liz?
Travel. I so want to travel. I, you know, I've traveled the world, well, 72 countries in this rocking chair. I would like to take this rocking chair in person. I would like to have a stage. I would like to have people come and talk and share their stories on a Miss Liz's platform stage. That is the
Mm.
goal for Miss Liz.
To travel and to really meet people from a lot of new and different places.
Absolutely. And meet all the guests I had on Tea Time. That is one of my goals. So when the universe gets on my good side, maybe I'll be traveling and meeting you face to face one day, Michael.
Or we'll travel up there when we can. I know right now there are many challenges because of our governments putting roadblocks in the way. I've applied to speak at several events in Canada, and I've been told right now, well, the
Yeah, don't
political
travel.
situation is such that we can't really bring anybody in from the United States. And I understand that. I think that there's so much to add, but I also understand that they don't want to take those chances, and that's fine.
Yeah, we've been told the same. No
Yeah,
traveling, vice versa. It will calm itself down. We just got to give it some time.
it will. It isn't going to go on forever, and we'll just have to deal with it. Well, if you had the opportunity to go back and give your younger Miss Liz some advice, what would it be?
Drink more tea.
Drink more tea of the liquid kind or the other kind.
No, drink the real stuff. Like
Drink
drink
the
the
real
beverage.
stuff. Good
Drink
for
the real
you.
stuff. Like, speaking of tea all the time, my favorite tea is jasmine tea. I wish I could drink more jasmine tea, but
Mm,
when I drink jasmine tea, it brings back a memory of my Oma, and
mm.
it's hard for me. So, but drink more tea. Like actually sit down and have more conversations with Oma and see what else Oma had in the back there for her.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, I must say I've never been a coffee drinker, but I got converted to drinking tea years ago, and I've been doing it ever since. My favorite is PG Tips black tea, and I
Oh,
can get it
that's a
from
good one too.
Amazon, so we do it.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
I'm not a real big tea drinker, but guys, I do know a little bit about tea.
Well, I drink it more because it's a hot drink and it's got less calories than hot chocolate. Otherwise, I would be drinking hot chocolate all the time. But after September 11th, I tend to clear my throat a lot. So drinking hot beverages helps. And I've just never liked coffee like I've learned to like tea. So I drink tea.
Yeah. Well,
So
tea's
I'm
good
with
for
you.
you.
Yeah,
Tea's good for you. Look what it did to me. It made me who I am today.
there you are in so many ways. Well, I want to thank you for being here. This has been fun. We've been doing this now, can you believe it, for over an hour.
Absolutely. Right? The
Ti-
time flies when you're
Time
having fun.
flies. Have you had dinner yet?
Yes, I did.
Oh, good. Well, I'm going to go get mine ready. But I want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank all of you for being with us today. Hope you've enjoyed the conversation and that you found some great insights and interesting ideas and attitudes. Miss Liz, if people want to reach out to you, how do they do that?
Well, for now, you can check the Miss Liz's Tea Time website at www.misslizsteatime, no s.com. You can find me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, all of those ones, TikTok, all those good places.
So,
Uh, if
so,
you're not looking for Miss Liz, you ain't gonna find Miss Liz because I'm out there.
so it's www.missliz's tea time.
Yes,
Is that Liz apostrophe S or just Liz S?
and just LIZS, Miss
Tea
Liz,
time.
teatime.com.
Com. Okay. MissLiz'sTeaTime.com. Well, I hope you'll do that. I hope you'll all look at her books, and we are putting them in the show notes. So please feel free to get those books as well. But I want to thank you, Liz, for all of your insights and your thoughts. If any of you want to reach out to us and comment about today, please feel free. You can reach us at Michael H.I., Michaelhi at accessibe, accessibe.com, or at our podcast page, www.michaelhingson.com/podcast. No S at the end, just podcast. So thanks for doing that. Please give us a 5-star rating wherever you are experiencing our podcast. We really value those from you. And for you, Miss Liz, and for everyone, as I usually ask on these podcasts, if you know anyone else who you think ought to be a guest and come on and tell stories, and their story especially, love to hear from you and from them. So please introduce us. We really appreciate getting the introductions from all of you and meeting the people that you send to us. You help us a great deal, and I get to learn a lot, which I really value. So thanks once again for being here. And Liz, I want to thank you again. This has been absolutely fun. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for all listening.